So I want to talk briefly about Mexico and the ReFINE program, then just touch, provide a bit of context for what we've been doing the past 2 years, and then talk very briefly about what our agenda mandate is. Very briefly, maybe 5-8 minutes, and I hand it back to Ezekiel. So Mexico, I know Mexico isn't new to most of you. We are an international NGO that works on the front lines of humanitarian crisis. Our mission, we are really guided by the mission to alleviate global suffering, poverty, and oppression by helping to build secure, productive, and just communities, right? So in the context of ReFINE, the primary crisis we've been dealing with is, of course, displacement, right? And we have been working with both urban and rural refugees over the past year, the aim to build their self-reliance, right? ReFINE basically works on both sides of the market, right? And helps to, on the demand side, build capacity, strengthen relationships with financial institutions, and then on the supply side, also try to unlock capital to refugees, in addition to building the suppliers of financial services capacity as well. So this first slide really is where we started from over 3 years back. There were some gaps that were identified from a Kiva Mexico study. I'm not going to go through all of these, but basically on the demand side, which touches the lives of refugees, hosts, and grassroots institutions, some of the usual suspects, I'm sure you know, were identified to be bottlenecks, right? So low capacity, financial, business, digital capacity of refugees, little credit history, few assets that would qualify as collateral, weak organizational capacity, and then most importantly, that there was a very poor emphasis on and prioritization on the needs of women, right? And so those were some of the things we set out to change. On the supply side, the major barrier had to do with limited access to capital, then poor product segmentation and product fit for refugees, and or some additional barriers, operational barriers, even legal barriers as well that we had to deal with. So thus ReFINE was born, and the 3 building blocks of ReFINE really are an attempt to fix the issues we just presented, right? We believe that by building the capacity of refugees at different levels, financial, business skilling, digital skilling, digital access to platforms, right? There can be a turnaround, and that by also providing additional capital to financial institutions, and by helping them to understand the psyche, the needs of refugees better, including women's needs, we would be able to minimize a lot of these challenges that had plagued the ecosystem. So in ReFINE, we work with a number of partners. Kiva helps us to achieve the very last building block, that's FSP capitalization. They provide near to almost near zero cost of capital to financial institutions to on-lend to refugees. And then we also build we work very closely with financial institutions to basically help them identify gaps and barriers, both within the institution and within the ecosystem, to close. This is our theory of change. Basically, I believe that by combining all of these, the capacity building I've talked about, the TA, the loan capital, knowledge sharing, and research, like we've been doing in our convening influence, we will be able to create this program-wide impact and ultimately achieve financial well-being for refugees in Uganda. In the interest of time, I think I'll skip this slide and talk very briefly about what has been accomplished so far. In the space of 2 years. The program runs for an additional year. We are actually in that final year, but so far we have been able to offer non-financial services, focused general financial literacy, and then a bit more tailored business skilling and training, digital training to 1,700 refugees, more than 2/3 of them being women. We have linked over 1,600 refugees to the 3 financial institutions we work with, UGAFOD, Finca, and Vision Fund. We have enabled financial institutions to be able to receive additional loan capital to on-lend. Till date, they've absorbed above more than $800,000 US from Kiva. The good thing about this is that this absorption has also triggered the release of their own capital to lend, which is a very good sign, which means and speaks really to sustainability. Means that the financial institutions see this market as viable. They are willing to commit their own funds to lend to refugees to develop appropriate products and services. Over 8,000 have received loans, figure that we know is not easy to achieve at all, over 60% of them being women. We are also happy to have helped the financial institutions to pioneer a number of changes to their products, right? So one thing we learned very early on, that serving refugees does not mean creating a new product for them. What was required is that a few important changes were made to the products. It's not been, the changes also have to go through a whole lot of processes. They need buy-in first, they need executive level approval, they need implementation, support, and all that. And we have been able to register at least 4 changes and counting to some product, some process, some approach or strategy from the FSPs. And we have also finally disseminated a number of market studies. We've assessed the state of the sector, and this one we have released other baseline studies, midline studies into the market, basically to contribute towards the development of the space. Final slide. How are we doing when it comes to gender? What are we doing differently? First, the basic is to ensure that the program, and I know that for all NGOs and other financial institutions, this is something we all do to ensure gender is mainstreamed at the very basic level. This is step 1. Next, we had to build our own capacity on critical gender issues to make sure that we could fully appreciate how to go about the process, the change process, right? So we may be financial sector experts, digital experts, but we are not gender experts. So we had to undergo that process ourselves. Next, we also had to be very intentional right from the start in selecting women-led or women-focused grassroots refugee organizations, which we typically call RLOs. to ensure that we work with them along this journey because we wanted to amplify the impact for women. And finally, we had to also, throughout the program, build the capacity of our partners. Our partners really are our hands and feet on the ground, and they are critical to sustainability. We need to ensure that they go about gender maybe the same way we go about it, and even better, that they understand the importance of it, the business case for it, and they can sort of perpetuate this beyond the life of the program. So that's it from me, Ezekiel. Back to you. Thank you very much.